I'm Nisha DeGaring.
And I'm Doug Jessup. Family Heritage Stories exist to give you ideas and examples of stories from the past to help shape the future.
It could be anything like a recipe from Grandma or a vacation location where your ancestors came from. These stories deserve to be passed down. Welcome to Family Heritage Stories, where we talk about what makes us who we are. Things like traditions, values, and culture.
How are these things passed down from generation to generation? Through deeds, through words, through stories. We all benefit from heroes among us. Now, they're going to say, it's just part of the job. But it's more than that. It's time for Hero Salute Stories. Do you remember the first time that you personally fought an active fire?
I'd say probably my first job, I might have been at the firehouse not more than a week, because we were in a we were 85th Street, so Harlem started on 96th Street. That was the cutoff between the haves and have-nots, so to speak, you know. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was probably like a Second Avenue type of thing, and going in, and now they're watching you because you're the new kid on the block, and the officer said to the ironsman, "All right, take the door," and he goes to get the Hallian and pop the door, and I turned the handle and opened the door, because that was one of the first things they taught you in primary school. Check the doorknob first. You might not have to break the door down. You know? And I remember the lieutenant looking at me and go, "All right, you're a keeper." But we had good bosses. The fire years, they learned a lot. You know, yeah. We all did though. You know, it was all, and you progressed. You learned constantly. You learned, you watched, you read. You know, and then you studied. You know, I ended up. I got promoted to lieutenant after about 10 years, and then I did about 10 years as a lieutenant, and I got promoted to captain. And I was very rewarding career. I really was very happy.
What makes a good captain?
One of the things that you have to remember, that this too shall pass. So when you're dealing with a multitude of personalities, you have to be understanding. You have to be disciplinary, to a certain degree. But you got to remember that this too shall pass. No matter what's occurring, you'll be able to work it out. And that's what makes you a good officer. Not just a captain, any officer, any rank.
Well, I hate to say it, but that actually works both ways. This too shall pass works for bad times and for good times.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's just like, you kind of got that yin and yang.
Yes. You get to learn your men. You want to teach them. You want to be the best teacher to them, that they learn the business the way you learned the business. Yeah. You want to make sure you don't want to kill anybody, get anybody killed. Now, it does happen. It's not. We know this when we go into this. There's not any guarantee you're coming home, but you try to get everybody home safely to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for this special episode of Family Heritage Stories. If you would like to help us continue with this great and important programming, please visit herosalutestories.org.
Nobody knows why firemen are firemen. Not even they could tell you why. But it is time somebody tried. Firefighting is the most risky of all dead-end jobs, yet also the one where most workers are most likely to punch in early. It's hard enough to believe that. It's impossible to explain it. Fire and ice are uncomfortable separately or together. Wives hate the hours, kids love the noise, fire and ice. Any day at the firehouse, the bell from hell puts the dispatcher on the horn with a tenement tinderbox address, into bunker pants, rubber turnout coat, grab the mask and go. Minutes later, you're on site. As others run out, you go in. You'll need all you can carry. The 4-pound axe, a 6-foot hook, the Halligan pry bar. The ceiling concealing the smoldering has to come down, and it's one of those stubborn tin ones. In the scary dark, with heat eating your ears, you are gouging out and tearing loose and pulling apart, gulping air and tasting black. Your windpipe is closing, and you've lost track of which way is out. Is it really worth it? Then there's that night another engine company gets there first. You see this wet-eared Wookiee hot-dogging ahead. His academy boots are still shiny. You lose him inside the crackling dark. You forget about him until your helmet warning bell says, get out. The battalion chief is calling you off. You get out. The other guy didn't. That day, we lost 2. Oh yes, firemen cry, but only briefly. The intercom barks again. This time it's a warehouse, a big fat multiple blaze, probably torched. On-site engine men draped with icicles, dragging a 3/4 pre-connect froze hose, are waiting for your big line. Laddermen can't make the building without you. Search, rescue, ventilate. Behind graffiti-fouled walls, you saved what you could, but the raging blaze that wanted to consume adjacent buildings did not, because you were there. Back at the firehouse before cleanup, you and the guys sit a spell, tired but stimulated, drinking coffee, laughing, feeling good about one another. Nobody outside your world can ever know this feeling, and you're doubting even God knows why. You're out of the shower now. Most of the grime and some of the cynicism are down the drain when you hear a strangely familiar voice saying, "It is worth it. It is worth it." And you're hearing this voice, and there's nobody there but you. It's a quiet voice from nowhere saying, for salvaging things and people from flames, I have to rely on your hands.
There's a special bond between grandparents and grandkids.
Tell me a story about your grandma or grandpa.
My grandma Sorensen, which is my mother, Muriel, her mother, she's from Buell, Idaho. She moved over near St. Mark's Hospital when I was a teenager, and she grew a beautiful garden. And a few years ago, I went to a family reunion, and as I was gathering up, I thought, I should take some plants from my home greenhouse and share with my family. And so as I went out to that greenhouse, I was just like I was in my grandmother's garden. She's been, God, for 25-ish years. And I went out there and I was just like this little girl, prancing through her garden. And it was like red hot poker, geranium cranesbill, bleeding hearts, and iris. And I took all these plants. I filled the back of my car and I took them to this family reunion. When I got there, I opened up the back of my Suburban and I unloaded all these plants and I said, no touchy till the family meeting. And I went to the family meeting and it was all over with. Everybody's like, okay, what's going on with these plants? And I was able to talk for several minutes about, I didn't realize till that moment in my greenhouse of all the influence that my grandmother had on me about the perennials and these plants, because I learned them and I had to think back, well, where did I learn them from? Didn't know where I learned them from. And it was very, very fun.
You're watching Family Heritage Stories with me and my grandkids. We'll be right back. Every veteran has a story that deserves to be remembered. At Family Heritage Stories, we collect, preserve, and share those personal experiences of our veterans. Your donations help us document and honor those veterans and their legacies for generations to come. Join us in ensuring that their legacies live on. Donate today at herosalutestories.org.
Jeff Wood. This isn't a dad joke. This is a grammar joke. So knock knock. Who's there? Two. To whom? Come on, guys. All right. What do you call a buck with no eyes? No idea.
Oh.
What do you get if you cross an elephant with a rhinoceros? Elephino.
You're watching Family Heritage Stories with me and my grandpa. We'll be right back.
There's a special kind of person out there. He's not like the rest of us. Well, our first instinct is to flee a building consumed in flames. His is to run right into it. Well, you and I merely stand on the sidelines, hoping a neighbor's home isn't destroyed. He grabs his helmet, mask, air tanks, and axe and does hand-to-hand combat with the danger. He doesn't just fight fires. He straps on 70 pounds of safety gear, ascends a 40-foot ladder, climbs right into the danger, and saves all those who otherwise would have perished. Every single day. He's noble. He's daring. He's dedicated. And sometimes, he's not a he. So today, we thank all firefighters, because they don't just fight fires. They fight to save lives. And that's amazing.
Coming up a little bit later in the show, we find out the story behind one of those treasures remembered here at Anthony's Fine Art and Antiques.
It felt really good to be able to talk to Doug about family heritage. And I recognize as I grow older how important that heritage is and how it has influenced my life. I'm grateful for it, and it also helps me find ways of being better, because some of the things that we experience are not what we necessarily want. And so we learn how to have a better life than the generation that went before. My view is every generation gets better. That's what's happening. There's an evolution of the human spirit, and every generation gets better.
Family Heritage Stories features examples of stories from the past to help shape the future.
If you would like help saving your stories with a private interview, contact Krista at fedorafoundation.org for pricing and availability. What does heritage mean to you?
Was there a phrase or any kind of, for lack of a better term, signature that kind of denotes a Don Gale editorial or article or book? Is there something that you like to kind of repeat inside of your stuff? Because you've got a lot of things.
No, when I started KSL editorials, I had a closing. I always said KSL believes. Well, almost. So that summarized everything.
Okay.
And then, of course, I had to say, KSL welcomes contrasting points of view from responsible individuals. I used to have a senator come on to do a rebuttal, and he'd say, "You think I'm a responsible individual?" I said, "I don't know. You're a legislator. Maybe we better..."
It's pushing the lines there.
Then we laughed.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Great.
Well, now, totally serious. I mean, did you ever have anybody that, I won't, how do I put this without sounding funky? Did you ever have an opposing view that you're just going, oh, we can't put this on the air?
No, I didn't, because I helped them. Most of them came in too long and not very well written.
Right.
So I always helped
Really?
improve.
So even though it was an opposing view to something you said,
sure.
you're still helping.
Because I took that very seriously.
Heck yeah.
I mean, that was part of the radio code or the broadcast code. But the FCC said you have to serve in the public interest, convenience, and necessity.
Right.
And part of that was if you say something opinion on the air, you got to let other people offer the other opinion. Nobody does that anymore. It's terrible. It's awful.
Well, so, Don Gale, how do you want to leave your mark?
Well, number one is my kids and my grandkids, great-grandkids. That's the most important thing we do. And of course, I've got millions of words out there that I've written. Some of them are preserved in books or other forms. My son took all those editorials. I was walking down the basement hall one day when I was, after I'd finished doing editorials, but I was still working for Bonneville. And I saw somebody pushing a cart with all these half-inch VHS tapes, old stuff. And they all said KSL editorials. And I said, where are you going with that? And she said, I'm throwing it out. I've been told. I said, no. My car's out there in a lot. You put them in my car.
Like, yeah.
And I took them home, and my very patient son, I got hold of some equipment from KSL, and he transferred all those things onto a DVD. And so I have all those, and they're at the library, the university library. So that's there if somebody ever wants to research it. And those, what can you leave more than words and words and words and thoughts? And
Well, there's a philosophy I have with all my interviews, is if we sit down and listen to understand instead of listening to respond,
yeah, exactly.
you're going to find out you had a lot more.
Right. Oh, exactly. I've been interviewed enough to know some people are not interviewing you, they're showcasing them.
Yeah.
And you can always tell.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible interviewer. I'm just no good at all. But
You're a great interviewee, I'm just saying.
no, I don't know about that. But anyway, thank you so much.
No, you don't. With another episode of Family Heritage Stories and Don Gale, I'm Doug Jessup.
We've been looking forward to it. All of us. Now finally, we can meet again with the paradise of the sun, wind and water, and its natural energy. Rediscover the home country of the world leader in renewables, and its beaches and breathtaking landscapes, its incredible streets, art and history, and of course its greatest treasure, the people. The best place in the world to enjoy special moments and spectacular sights. Spain awaits, as always, to help you recharge with our best energy. Make sure you visit. We're waiting.
You learn a lot about traditions, values, and culture when you travel. Objects with stories, our treasures remembered.
Hola, this is Doug Jessup. Today in Treasures Remembered, we're going to España with this guy, Dr. Micah Christensen.
Spices were the currency of the Middle Ages.
Seriously expensive,
right?
yeah.
I mean, they were very expensive. And in this would have been a high object that would have elevated these spices. You wouldn't have put these in your spices in anything typical, right?
Okay.
You would have had an object of art that they would have been put in, even in the most common home. So everyone would have agreed on two different spices that would have gone on.
Okay, I'm guessing one would be salt.
Salt, which is the cheapest of all the spices that's available.
Okay.
Well, because you've got to imagine you're surrounded by the ocean, and you can get it in lots of different ways. You can also mine it. There's a kind of salt that's that way.
Now, we're talking Spain. I'm totally guessing maybe some kind of chili or spicy type thing?
You know, you'd think so, but those came later. Those came in the New World.
Okay.
So what you'd have in Spain is you'd probably have oregano, or you'd have thyme.
Okay.
But the most expensive spice that would have been on this table would have been peppercorns. And there's stories of people trading horses for a handful of peppercorns. This is specific, and the overall triangle shape, to the kind of thing that was made by Muslim pottery workers working in Spain in the 14th and 15th centuries. They are making, for all of the trade routes that are coming through and bringing spices, objects that are used to store and to exhibit these spices. You have to imagine that this is a huge reason why the exploration is happening in the first place, and why America is discovered by Europeans, is because they're trying to fill the little spice racks that they have on their kitchen tables that are made by the mudejares that are living in Spain after hundreds of years, who have brought with them not just the spices and the taste for spice, but they've also brought with them the technology that the Europeans don't have of making pottery at this level. This is very high technology. This would have had to be fired to be made between 1900 and 2100 degrees Celsius, which would have required coal mining. It would have required the refinement of the clay. It would have required the cobalt, which was brought from Persia, that is on this. This is an international piece made with international skill to feature international tastes in food. That is the culinary history of Europe that we're the inheritors of today.
Makes you admire and I guess want to appreciate your own spice rack, but maybe not as expensive. Everyone has a story. Objects with stories, especially ones that Micah brings, those are treasures remembered. We'll be right back. Everyone has a story.
And sometimes those stories are told through music.
Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand each other.
If you want help saving your family heritage stories with a private interview, contact Krista at fedorafoundation.org for pricing and availability.
I believe in service. I was a police officer and I served my country in the military. Now I serve my community as a volunteer firefighter.
As a full-time paramedic, I see what firefighters do every day. It definitely can be challenging, but this is a great team and I'm proud to be on it.
I'm an electrical engineer, but I come from a family of firefighters. It's in my blood. I volunteer because I know it makes a difference.
It's our honor to be able to help people remember where they came from.
The Fedora Foundation supports the collection, preservation, and distribution of diverse stories of traditions, values, and culture through Family Heritage Stories, on TV and online at familyheritagestories.org.
How do you want to be remembered? With another episode of Family Heritage Stories, I'm Nisha Dagiri.
And I'm Doug Jessup.